Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 106, Just Dance. As always, I start with my thank yous and I have my cheat sheet. Special thank you goes out to all of my subscribers, new and ongoing. You guys are why I do this and I love you. This is really all about you and what you want to see and hear. Message me, let me know what you like, what you don't like. Don't be afraid of saying what you don't like and what you want to see more of, and I'll do everything I can to make that work for you. Hello goes out to Emily and Amy. Thank you for adding me to your lives. Special love and thanks go out to Amy, Emily, Tooney, Glenda, Tara, Diane, Allison, Barbara, Lib, Joy, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Jorge, George, Chris, Benty, Christy, David, Neetsy, Charlotte, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott and John, Kate, Janet, and Terry, Monica, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Juanita, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Katie, Shirley, Roz, and Jamie. I love you guys. Warm hello and thank you goes out to all of my patrons. You honor me, you make this possible, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Life. Pardon me. I've had a lot on my plate. I'm still very much coming down from readjusting after coming home from my trunk show. A lot of preparation goes into it. A lot of energy goes into it when I'm there. And then when I come home, there's like this big rebound where I have to catch up on all the things at home in my day job that got pushed or rushed or set aside because I was prepping, because I was doing other things, because I was away. And it takes me a little bit of time to find my ground again. And I always learn a lot from when I travel and when I go on my trunk shows. And I like to reincorporate those experiences, that information, what I've learned, what I've gained, into my new life. I always come home with a new life, and I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed and I'm surprised at all the things that I am doing and that I am accomplishing. And when I get overwhelmed or when I get stressed, I always have really kind of pulled back to the just keep swimming idea. And I always liked the idea of that, just keep swimming. And I could see Dory going along and, what do you do when it's all crazy, when it's too much? You just keep going. And it's funny because recently I was thinking about that and I was realizing why that doesn't always work for me. It's funny what your subconscious does, isn't it? A part of that was that it was swimming. As silly as that sounds, I'm not a strong swimmer. When I swim, it's very, it's two strokes in a little pool and it's very, very rare, and I don't have a lot of great swimming memories. It's not something that I do well. It's not something I'm entirely comfortable with. I live in the desert. I don't have a pool. And so sometimes when I think just keep swimming, it kind of puts it into this connotation that you just keep struggling. Just keep struggling. You'll get through it. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't like the idea of that I needed to connect channeling my strength and pushing through, enduring, and getting through to the other side of whatever my mountain was at that time to something more positive, to something that I could really latch on to and have a mantra that worked for me. And it was kind of funny because when I thought about that, the first thing that came through, and sometimes it even applies to my knitting. Sometimes you get to the end of a project and the rows are really long and you just keep going, and just keep knitting. It's joyful at the beginning of a project, but may not be what you need to get through a harder project or through a slog kind of a thing. And when I really let myself go and I thought about what can I attach to, what feels right for me, just dance was what I connected to. And I can wrap around that. I can embrace that. Dancing is about embracing the moment, making the most of it, enjoying it, letting go, shaking it out. And I love to dance. I love to dance. I am probably Seinfeld's Elaine on the dance floor. I probably scare people away. I probably make a total fool of myself. I probably make the people I'm with uncomfortable. I don't care. I don't care. I like to do it. It feels good. It makes me feel better. And I'm always surprised when the music is over, because I fall away into this other place where I just let go and I move. And I think if I can channel that, if I can connect that to whatever's giving me stress, whatever's my just keep swimming moment, I think I'm going to be surprised when it's over. I think I'm going to get through it easier. Same as when I'm surprised that the music's over. So that's kind of like my new applied deal with it mantra. I find it kind of funny in a weird, since I go down these paths way, that Ellen DeGeneres, of course, is credited as Dory, and it was Ellen that said, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I love that character. I really enjoy that character. But when you get down to Ellen and who she is, she's much more of a Lady Gaga. She's a dance it out girl. And, you see her in her talk shows and her stuff. She resorts to just dance too. And I thought that was a funny juxtaposition, that it was my just keep swimming person that's really a just dance girl. So, if you follow my nonsense, if you connect to this, you are either a genius or you're crazy. Either way, you're in good company, and welcome. Welcome to the madness. Moving on, let's get out of life, let's get into craft. Hand spinning, yay! Okay, so I have been practicing. I actually have some spinning on my spindle. Most recently, the challenges that I am handling, and I love that when I practice these things, I'm usually on like my Zoom communicator, or I'm chatting with somebody else, and other people can see me on video and could go, Jess, excuse me, you might benefit from. Eve, thank you. You saved me again. So, what I'm working on with my spinning, and I have been practicing, is really relaxing, trying to get my shoulders out of my ears, and separating my hands more when I do my draft, because what I am doing, what I'm learning, when I do my draft or when I do my draw, I'm still rough on vocabulary. I'm getting there. Is that my hands, I've been holding my hands too close together, and I'm pulling on the actual staple length, and that's not drafting properly. I need to separate my hands so that I'm drawing against the staple length. And these things come with knowledge and experience, understanding staple length, understanding really what the material is you're working with and how you're working with it, and what's best methods and that sort of thing. This is really something that I'm doing exploratory. I am cautious to say that I won't ever really get addicted to this or get into it, because when I do it, I do get really channeled and really into it. With more experience, with more practice, I'm producing more faster. And I think that was really a big hang up for me, was that when I first tried this, it was defeating. I would work on it and work on it and work on it. I'd have 6 centimeters of yarn, and it was miserable. And now in just a couple minutes, I can put on several yards, and that feels better. That feels productive. And I like when my hobbies, my crafts, my practices show production. And I hate to be a instant gratification person, but really I am. When I go to my crafting, it's a soothing action, or in my case, because of my business, sometimes it's a production action. And not making good progress is incredibly frustrating for me. So even in something I'm toying with, to have progress, visible progress, means a lot to me. I have time set aside this weekend to do more of this, and I'm looking forward to it. It's starting to feel less arduous. Maybe I should try doing this with some music on. Wait a minute, that could work. So that's moving ahead, and I actually am preparing to take my spinning and put it in a basket of its own, because right now it's still like in a shipping box, and it's in this. The materials that I received as a gift from a friend, Juanita, thank you, were a gift. And it was to jumpstart me and enable me and give me an opportunity to play with this and learn from it. And I'm very grateful for it. It is still in the box that I received it in. And how do I say this? I need to move it to a place of respect. That sounds... I don't want that to sound crappy. Please don't perceive it that way. It's that it's still in its initial packaging, and while the box delights me, I want to elevate it. I want to put it into a project basket and make it something that is focal, that is respected, that is something that I show my desire in wanting to do it. Am I making any sense? Probably not. I keep hearing a creaking, and that's making me very, very weird. I don't know what that noise is coming from. Outside it's birds, okay. But when you start to, sometimes you apply yourself better to things that you apply respect to, and I think by getting this out of the box and into a container, an assigned project container, that I will have honored it with a respectful energy, and it will be more respectful in its energy returning to me. Maybe? Okay. This is my weirdness. This is how I am. Join the club. So that's going pretty good, and I'm learning more about staple length, and yeah, I know how to pull it and recognize staple length, and I think separating my hands and getting more of a flow will be very good for me. What have I been knitting? I've been knitting. I have been knitting. I am working on, this was originally going to be a travel knitting project for my trunk show, and I cast it on before I went, and it traveled with me, but I never touched it again the entire trip. This is my Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy. I am knitting this using my Tap Monkey base, and the yarn colorway is Swanky. It's this awesome purples, and it's got little bits of pink in it, and it's got some dark speckles. It's really pretty. I really like it. I'm knitting this for a friend. It is a gift for her. She is about to, well, she's pregnant. She's going to have a baby, and I'm very excited for her. It's her first child. And rather than knitting just a baby gift that baby will grow out of, wear out of very quickly, I'm also knitting a mommy gift, and I think that's important. I like to do that. And so I'm knitting this shawl for her. Purple is one of her favorite colors. It is coming along. I'm getting some progress on it. It kind of resembles a mess because it's not blocked. It's not blocked, and it's going to really refine and change. It's one of those projects that needs to be blocked. It will be at its best when it's blocked. Right now it's the crumpled up project bag kind of mess. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process of it. I love watching the colors change. It looks kind of rough just because of that. But ultimately, it's going to be kind of a shawl, a wrap for her that reminds her how beautiful she is, and gives her, if she chooses to breastfeed, some privacy. She can wrap it, and just is in her favorite colors and commemorates that time of her life. So yay, I'm making progress on it. I'm probably a third of the way through the ball. This is one of those one ball go until you're done kind of projects, and it's easy. I like the pattern. It's a little bit, there's a couple of areas in it that are a little fiddly, and I understand why it's written that way. This is a free pattern, absolutely. I wanted to be sure I said that. It is available through Ravelry. And is it free? It must be. I can't remember now. I'm sorry. I will put some kind of a correction to my statements down here. There's a couple areas that are a little bit fiddly. One of them being the drop stitch row. I think I'm holding the wrong side at you. I am. There we go. The drop stitch row, which is done through some double yarn overs like any other drop stitch row. And I just haven't worked a drop stitch row in a really long time. And building it is easy because you do an action and double yarn over, you do an action, double yarn over. But coming back when you're dropping those yarn overs, it can be a little loosey-goosey and a little terrifying. And then the row after that, because you've got all this excess yarn, and it's not so much what's below the stitch, it's that the stitch that's on the needle can draw up and use all that extra yarn. That has a tendency to be kind of hairy-carry, a little bit loose as well. It takes a little getting used to. It takes a little bit of nail biting and deep breaths, and try not to hold your breath when you do it. I'm still working on that lesson. But the effect is lovely. It's really cool. And it always works out. It always works out. There's nothing weird about it when it's done. It's just that tightrope kind of action when it's actually in process. That may well end up being something that I do a very, very quick tutorial on, that's really not so much a how to do it as a this is what it feels like, this is what it looks like, it's okay, just keep stitching, you've got this, kind of a confidence builder, so you can see that you're not doing it wrong because it feels uncomfortable, that it just plain feels a little uncomfortable. Otherwise, I recommend the project. I think it's beautiful. I was turned on to this by my friend Jamie. He knit one of these out of my Copper River, and it made that yarn so beautiful. It was just a perfect pairing. I am proud as punch that my yarn was a part of that pairing because his project is stunning, absolutely stunning. Again, I'm making this as a gift for a friend who is in her first pregnancy, and I'm very proud. I hope that she loves it, and we'll see how it goes. It's going well. This has been my car knitting most recently. That drop stitch when he's going over railroad tracks. Fortunately, my husband, who does do the inbound commute for us in the morning and allows me to knit while I'm still trying to wake up, understands knitting. He understands me, and whenever there's particularly something in traffic or road conditions such as railroad tracks, he'll call out, "Hold on to your stitches." So I know, okay, just for a second, stop what I'm doing so I don't drop anything. He's a good guy. I'm a lucky girl. So again, that is the, I know I've said it, but my mind isn't all that sharp this morning, Stormy Sky Shawl, Life is Cozy, recommended project. I have also been knitting, that's kind of a joke, on my Brickyard sweater. I haven't cast the sweater on. Don't get excited. I want to desperately. I've been knitting my swatch. Woo! It's not even, I mean, it should be like that. It's not even really a swatch yet. I put a few rows on it. I hate knitting swatches. Not gonna lie. Everybody should knit a swatch. And there's a good reason that everybody should knit a swatch. And it's the reason that I hate knitting swatches. So I have this beautiful fabric that I'm created. It is on the recommended needle. It is the yarn that I want to use. It's beautiful. It's giving me information that makes me unhappy. I love the stitch. I love the yarn. I love the interplay of the two of them. I love the fabric that is being made. I am very, very happy with this. What I'm not happy with is the data I'm getting from it. I'm doing a no-no. I'm doing a no-no. Let's have, it's confessional time. Hi, my name is Jessie. I hate knitting swatches. I'm measuring the swatch on the needle instead of doing what we are supposed to do and finishing the square, binding it off, washing it, and laying it flat to dry as we would the end garment. I'm cheating, and I'm measuring what's on the needle. And what's on the needle does not match the gauge that I should have. Which is right. It shouldn't match the gauge that I want to have for the sweater because it's not in its proper format. I have to finish this swatch, and it's a joy to knit. Don't get me wrong. I should have knocked this out 12 times by now. But I have to bind it off, and I have to do that wash step. Why will I not do this? Why does that bug me so much? Instant gratification knitter. I love this. I just want to cast it on. I just want to be down the road to that sweater. But when I measure it, it's not jiving, and that's okay. Ultimately, it shouldn't. I just wanted it to work. And when I look back at other projects where I've cheated, and I've done this, and I've measured, and my swatch, my on-the-needle swatch was dead on, the end project wasn't. And why is this such an icky lesson to learn? Why does this bug so much? It makes perfect sense, and I need to do it. But I just want to get to the party. I am going to, this weekend, in whatever time I can glean out of gardening and yard care and catching up on laundry and everything else that I need to do this weekend, I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to wash it, and I'm going to block it. And I'm going to harvest the yarn bag out of it. That's my other little tiny concern. I'm a little bit concerned that I don't have the yardage I need for this. I always go through this with sweaters. I could have 20 extra skeins and I would be nervous. Why? I will learn from this. I will learn from this. But if it doesn't work out and I do have to reknit the swatch, I'm going to take copious notes of this, and then I'm going to tear it out, and I'm going to knit again the new swatch with it. I love it. I am really excited about it. This is the decorative stitch pattern, and the gauge that she uses is based on this. On the top of that sweater, it's the upper, the yoke. It is so beautiful. I'm so excited about how this is working out. So what am I talking about? I am talking about the Brickyard sweater. This is by Elizabeth Doherty. It is a pay-to-play. It is available on Ravelry. I'm sorry, I showed you guys last episode this. I have a black and white print of the sweater, but it is really, really pretty. It's an A-line sweater. It does this beautiful brick stitch across the top yoke. That section is slightly more fitted before it goes down into the A-line. She has a lovely, right here, just above the bust line, there's like an I-cord divider kind of a feature going on there that's in an arc. Really, really pretty before it goes into stockinette in the A-line and in kind of a skirt cut. And then, of course, it has sleeves. It is more of a... Does she call this a drop shoulder? Brickwork yoke and curved arch add structure and balance to gentle A-line shape. It doesn't say that it is. It has some short rows in the shoulder, but it's a style and a design that I really, really like. It is a construction I really like. It is a top-down modern drop shoulder fit, it says here. Haha, I found it. It's a really pretty design. I would love to have this. I'm very high-waisted, so I suspect that it might wear a little bit longer on my frame, which would be lovely because then I can just wear a legging with it. I want this. If this was on a rack in a store, I would just be, take my money, I want that. So I'm very excited to knit it, and I think that's part of why I'm being so impulsive and impatient with my swatch. Take it from me, it's worth it, just do it, just do it. So that is what I've been knitting. And I'm going to focus and try and get that done. I really want to get to the point where that sweater is cast on. The yarn that you're seeing here is a colorway called Acromantula Layer. This is by Supernatural Yarns, Shannon Shaw. It is on a DK weight. It is a slightly lighter DK weight than the pattern calls for. That's my other concern with this, but we'll make it work. And really, honestly, I could accent this with a pewter color if I needed to, but it's going to be so pretty. We're going to go there. We're going to get this done. That's what I have been knitting. What have I been crocheting? Now there's a segment I didn't think I was ever going to add, or words I was ever going to say. I have been working on my Through the Clouds. Is that right? Yeah, I have Stormy Sky Shawl and I have my Through the Clouds shawl. There seems to be a theme. There seems to be a theme. I am working on this still and I am loving it. I did another color transition. So I'm into my third color pairing here. You use one color per row. Each row changes colors. So you go all the way across, all the way across, all the way back, all the way back, alternating the colors. Maybe I'm conveying that well. I originally had a brown selected to go with this, and I think I showed you guys those colors. And when I started this new color change and I put the brown in, it was stark. It was too high contrast. It didn't have that blend and marry of colors. And I put it on and I wasn't grooving with it. And I showed my husband and he went, ooh. And we talked a little bit about color theory and what really would be a better color. And I love teal and lime together. That's me. That's my personal choice. Other people love other colors together. I just really like teal and lime together. Don't know why. And he mentioned, you know, a green would be nice with that. So I dug through my stuff and I need to dig deeper and try and find the original label for this because I don't know what this yarn is. I know it's a fingering weight. I suspect it is also a Supernatural Yarns colorway by Shannon Shaw. It is a pretty mottled speckled green with blues in it. It makes me very happy. I had it caked up. And I had it in my leftovers bin. For the life of me, I cannot think of what I used this in. And I should have weighed it. I wish I had weighed it because I think it was a full ball. Why it was caked and set aside into my leftovers, I don't know. It would have been a lot of leftover. I would have only used a little bit. For the life of me, I can't think of a project I used this in. So maybe I caked it for some other project. And when I got there, I decided against it. It was one of those vetoes. And I just put it in my leftovers to get it out of my way rather than putting it away. I don't even know. It is the perfect answer for this project. It's worked there into this top. Oh, I've got probably 2 inches there. Alternating with my lighter color, which I'm pretty sure is my, I found labels. Yes, this is the Fairy Tale Knits Hercules sock in May the 4th, and they just actually work really pretty together. They have a lot of the same tones. I don't think you can see it because they're really very speckled in size, but here's that green right there. And there's a lot of the blues in this. They're marrying beautifully in this. It's got kind of a watery, oceany, seaweedy kind of feel to it. And it's just pretty. I'm very happy to be working on this. And I feel like I'm making good progress. It's not huge, but it's getting there. And my company colors, the colors that are part of my logo and my uniform stuff, do have a teal in it. So I think it's going to be really pretty, even just to wear to work. And I'm liking it. Making progress. This is my crocheting, and I did get probably, I should be using progress markers. Why do I refuse to use progress markers? I'm really going to make a concerted effort to try and mark things, because I don't remember how much I've done since I spoke to you last. If I had to guess, I'd say I'd put almost 4 inches on this since then. So it would be nice to be able to say, I've done this since then. I probably ought to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that better. So that's what I'm crocheting. That's my progress on that project. Again, this pattern is Through the Clouds. It is a pay-to-play pattern. It is available on Ravelry. And certainly check the information below. I should have links and data in there of the yarns, as well as colorway names and patterns and who designed these patterns. I do try to share that information, so if you see something that touches you that you like, you have access to it. That's important. So that's knitting, that's crocheting. What have I been dyeing? So last week I dyed up custom orders that were left over from my trunk show to get those out. I started to do more buildup of more minis for my next trunk show. It's always good to get a jump on the dyeing now rather than at the last minute. And I'm working on some new colors. This weekend I have another custom order that I'm going to begin to develop. I'm creating a colorway for somebody in particular. I received a really beautiful email this morning that touched me. Thank you guys. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for putting yourselves out and being vulnerable and sharing your world and your experiences and letting me know that you relate to me. That means a lot. That means a lot. Not only that I have your trust and I have your faith, that's always flattering, thank you, but knowing that I'm not alone and being able to directly respond to you and let you know that you're not alone, that means a lot. That's a big chunk of why I do this, is to connect with other people. I just love that. So I received a really beautiful email, and the writer expressed to me the desire for me to create a colorway for her. And she told me what her project is and what she wants to do with it and kind of the color direction she wants to go in, and said, just make it. Just make it. And you're right. I'm going to make that with love. Absolutely. That email is going to get printed, and it's going to be with me when I'm dyeing up those colors, so that that energy can inspire and come across. It's a lot like, any of you do this? If you're going to be making you're doing a lot of cooking, you'll turn on a favorite TV show even though you've watched that series 100 times, or you'll turn on your favorite music and you let that just kind of feed into you and supply an energy or supply a mood. I do the same thing with your emails. So when I'm dyeing projects for you guys, that email's there, it's present, and I go back and I reread it and let that energy kind of impart itself onto the project. Energy is important. What have I been designing? Haha. So this is designed, it's knit, it's partially written. It has been just sitting on the back burner. I'm going to try and pull that forward, but I got a lot of other things on the burners right now. I have also been in my knitting working on a new hat design. And I'm going through my initial test knit, and this is really a trial knit, to see if I like what I've written, to see if the colors are holding up, to see if it is as flexible as it needs to be, so that you can choose whatever colors sing to you and the pattern still works, it's still visible. I am in my initial test knit. It's color work, it is another hat. And the idea behind this is that it's going to have a pattern, a stitch pattern, that you can make as mild or as wild as you want. That only 2 colors at the most are used in the color work on any given row, and that you can use 3 colors, 4 colors, 5 colors on it. I'm of course going to push it to its limits and test the wild version first, but I've been working on this. So this has been some of my knitting over the past 2 weeks as I've been doing this color work. it's interesting how it wants to curl and show you the inside work more than the outside work. But this is another design that's in process, and it's specifically for my next trunk show. I think we're going to have a class on color work, and certainly I'm going to have more minis, patterns, options for people, because that was so much fun. People really enjoyed that, and having the opportunity to kind of play in the color buffet and select yarns that they wanted for their projects. I'm still trying to figure out how to work it through my Etsy shop so that I can have the minis available for you guys with the pattern that goes with it, and enable you to select 5 colors from the 12 color selection. Their system isn't wholly flexible with that sort of thing. I may just have the colors there and have you tell me what colors in your message, what you want. I don't want to pre-kit it. That's been kind of a struggle for me. It's a question I keep volleying back and forth. If you have a thought on it, please write to me. Please let me know what you're thinking. Comment down below. But I have done a bunch of colorways, combinations of colorways, forgive me, that are knit up and that I could readily show you a sample of so that you can see how the colors interact. But the colors are going to photo differently than your eye sees them. That's a hard concept to explain. But try and take a photo of a sunset and look at that photo and then look at what you are actually seeing. The camera doesn't translate the way the heart, the mind, and the eye does. So I don't really want to say, here's a preset kit, these are your colors. I want you to choose what you love. So like I said, please, if you are looking for the Keiko hat to become available with its minis, let me know what your thoughts are on, yeah, I can copy 5 names down into my notes. I can, or I would prefer that you pick out the color. Whatever, talk to me. I'd love to hear from you. This is part of what I've been knitting this week because it's what I've been designing over the past 2 weeks. And so some progress was made on this, but really the majority of the progress for the past couple weeks has been my mystery design along I've been working on. Sorry guys, I was afraid of that. Unfortunately, the battery died and I had to do some quick wiring here to get connected again. So what I was saying was really the lion's share of the knitting I've done this past week has gone toward a mystery design along that I'm doing with my friend Kate, who is one of the owners of Unwound in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And I'm starting off with one of Unwound's yarns, one of their store yarns. It's their Hixon base, and this colorway is called Unwound Teal. It matches their logo. It's a beautiful, vibrant, rich, saturated teal. I love this color. Kate had started Clue 1. She'd given me the information for Clue 1. My challenge is to knit Clue 1 and then design Clue 2, which is easier said than done. That's really, design alongs are interesting. They are great fun and they are a significant challenge. It's a really interesting exercise and you learn a lot about yourself doing it. This is beautiful. Kate, I hope I'm allowed to show this. I think I am. It's a really interesting, beautiful stitch. You're not going to get much information because we haven't designed it yet. We don't really know which direction we're going in. We're letting it happen. It's a very organic process. But this is the initial stitch that Kate gave me, and I hadn't cast it on yet, and she's almost done knitting her section and finishing up Clue 1 to tell me what the stitch count is, how many reps we're doing to finish Clue 1. And she said, have you cast it on yet? No, I hadn't. Part of it was I hadn't really decided what my color scheme was going to be yet, and I was kind of playing with it. I have colors set aside, but I hadn't wholly dedicated it to it. And I got a lovely message from her that said, close your eyes and pick. Which made me laugh. She is brilliant and dynamic and talented and energetic and thoughtful and creative, and I have so much respect and so many adjectives for Kate, and this project delights me and it honors me and it challenges me, and I am delighted that she has chosen to do this with me, that she suggested it. I'm excited for the entire process. I'm terrified. I hope I'm as good a designer as I think I am. She has faith in me. I'm going to feed off of her faith in me. But it's fun, and it's funny when you do these. It really, if you have anybody that is a knitter similar to yourself, you guys work on similar patterns, or you have love of similar colors or projects, consider doing this. It's fun. You can take the framework of any pattern, a simple triangle, make that the rule. Know what your increase is going to be, where your increase is, how big you want it. Have basic guideline rules. We haven't done that. We're working without a net here, folks. But you can readily do this and say, okay, you begin. Take these rules and apply a stitch pattern to it. And then when I get that, I'm going to go from there. And then your turn. And this is long distance, so all of our communication is digital. She sends me a copy of the chart she's designed. I'm going to send her a copy of the chart she's designed. We're working with different colorways. We don't necessarily know what the other person's using for yarn other than when we see pictures. We have veto rights, important. If you don't want to do color work, you say, hey, I don't want any color work in this. If you can't stand twisted stitches, you say, hey, I'm vetoing twisted stitches, and you communicate. You do this as a friendship, a bonder kind of a thing. Yes, it can go horribly wrong. It can turn into Monopoly night with family members that are highly competitive and challenging, and next thing you know, pieces are all over the floor. Or it can be a great lesson about yourself and who you are and what your tolerances are and what challenges you. What is my challenge? What has my challenge been with this? Too many colors, too many options, and too much concern over if I use a busy color for my clue, am I going to be able to design something that balances stitch pattern for color pattern so that it's an enjoyable process? These are considerations. I would recommend the process to anyone. If you and a friend are talking about doing this or want to rise to that kind of a challenge and want more information, contact me. I would love to talk to you about it and help you find the guidelines you need to start that process, or even just to figure out, how do we chart it? How do we get the information back and forth to each other? I'm happy to facilitate and help you work through the digital nonsense associated to it if that's a challenge. So I started this just the other day. It's going very quickly, mainly because I refuse to be that far behind. Yes, Kate, I love a challenge, and I'm working very quickly to get to a point where once she has completed clue 1, I can then jump off from there and get on to clue 2. Yes, I know I have a lot of knitting to do. I need to get caught up. So this has really been where my focus has been for the past couple days. And right now it's in that weird, tiny little corner thing. But this is coming along. It's exciting, and I'm eager to move on and work clue 2. I am terrified. I thought I had an idea when I saw her charts as to, like I looked at the chart, I didn't even cast it on, I looked at the chart and I'm like, oh, okay, so clue 2, I'm going to jump off and go in this direction. What is charted, what it looks like, how it interprets onto the fabric can be very different. And now that I'm actually in it and I'm feeling the direction of it, I'm thinking differently. And that's been a challenge in itself. So it's exciting. I'm having fun with that. So that's what I'm designing. The hat is coming along. I'm not 100% feeling it. There's a couple of reconsiderations there, and that's why I do this trial knit. Before, I had done kind of a series of blog posts via my Patreon page about the original Keiko design. This is kind of the Keiko too. It hasn't been named that officially yet, but I think I need to start blogging that process for you guys. That's exclusive content to my patrons. If you want more information about becoming one of my patrons, there are multiple levels of contribution that give you access to exclusive content. Feel free to pop over to my patronage page. There's rewards at every level as well. I try to give back to everybody for contributing to me and my business. But I really need to sit down and start blogging about this process again so that you can see kind of behind the scenes of what goes into a design, what my considerations are, how I make decisions and veto things. And I probably ought to start blogging about the mystery design along as well. And I'm going to see, I'll find time to do that. Somebody move the rock. I know there's time squeezed somewhere. Acquisitions, haha. I don't know if I talked to you guys about this last week. I'm going to spin the camera around because I'm looking at it. It's actually behind the camera. When I was up at Unwound, of course, like any good yarn shop, they have a winding station so that when you buy a skein or a hank of yarn, they can wind it up, they can cake it or ball it for you. And at the shop that I used to work at, spend time at, hang out at, my local yarn store, we had a winding station like this. And this winding station had been something that my understanding was had been hand built by one of the owners. And it was just a great little mini table of sorts that had the ball winder on one end and the umbrella swift on the other, and they were all connected, and it was this compact little thing. So when I was up at Unwound this past trunk show, I saw the winding station I think it had changed from what they had previously. I think they previously had used a table. I don't recall. But I took one look at that and I was like, oh, I must have that. I need that. That is fantastic. And the girls there, of course, very wise, and immediately said, IKEA. It's a table trestle, ultimately, is what the item is. And I'll have information about it below for you. It's reasonably very affordable. If you're looking for a permanent solution to a winding station, I love this thing. It comes in 2 options, to match your decor. There is a birch option, which is the one I selected, and there is a white option, which is more of a finished, but it's a table trestle and it's adjustable so that you could buy 2 of these and a tabletop and bang, you've got a table. It's the legs, it's the under part of the table. Ultimately, it looks kind of like a sawhorse, but it's refined, it's finished. The top section, and I'm describing it all before you see it, it'll make more sense when you see it. The top section is fully adjustable and comes up and down, and the top section is the section that my winder and my swift are on. I'll see if I can show all of this to you. The bottom of the legs, of course, it's a hardwood product, so the bottom isn't finished per se. It's finished wood, it's sanded, but when you're winding something, it's gonna shake and wobble a little bit. I have a floating hardwood floor in my studio here, so I wanted something to kind of protect the bottom of this truss of my winding station and my hardwood floors. I didn't want to, in my haste to wind stuff, wiggle and vibrate and cause damage to my floors. So wisely, I went into my stock of felted socks that I just hadn't been able to part with because I love them so much, but really were beyond wearing. And I put socks on each of the feet of this, because what else would I put on the feet? It's adorable. It's adorable. So I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to turn it around just to show you this item. If you want more information about it, I'll have links down below like I promised. And certainly reach out to me, ask questions. I considered it affordable. Some other people may say not so much. But if you want dimensions and that sort of information, if there's anything on the website that's not there from IKEA, I'm happy to answer it. Shipping on it was like $10 US. The whole item itself, I think, is listed at $49.99. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever ordered for IKEA. They may well have specials from time to time that I'm not aware of. I quite literally saw this in their shop and said, take my money, and like ordered it on my cell phone, and it delivered like the day after I got home. It's the ideal solution for me, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to have this in my shop, in my studio here, and have it as a permanent fixture, so I'm not having to deconstruct my blocking table and take it on and off of that in order to do my winding. So let's take a look. So here is the winding tabletop itself. Here is where it is, you can see here the adjustable section, which is right here. This goes up and down and is peg adjusted. There's a peg in there, right there, that is how you set the height against all of these holes in here. This is a flat beam here across the top. You can see my ball winder is mounted on one end, and my umbrella swift, although closed up at the moment, is mounted here on the other end. It's got a nice flat area here at the bottom that my little trash can is on to collect all my little ends and bobs. And if you look carefully down here at the bottom, there are the socks I put on it to protect my hardwood floors. I'm loving this piece. It is ideal for my needs. I'm sure that somebody who's handy with woodworking tools, unlike myself, could readily make something very similar, or could even modify one of the adjustable kind of sawhorse products that's available at Home Depot or Lowe's and do something similar. The distance between the two is ideal. It just happens to be right for the tension on that, and it balls up beautifully, versus sometimes on my blocking table it was too far, it was too long. So that's my great winding station acquisition, and really ever since the one I saw back at my local yarn store, I've wanted one. It's so convenient, and it's a permanent fixture. Right now I have it kind of in an awkward spot in my studio. I'm still getting used to the flow of my studio since I got this awesome new table. I'm sorry you saw like all the junk that I've got shoved into the table. Some of that is just leftover storage and shipping materials from my trunk show. I'm still cleaning up, I'm still adjusting. My studio is always a work in progress. It's always a mess in here. And that mess, there's a comfort to it. There's an inspiration that comes out of it. Sometimes piles of yarn on my work table make me think differently about color. They make me see different combinations that I wouldn't naturally have put together. Sometimes just having a mess will get to a point where it's too much for me, it's irritating to me, and I stop and I clean and I come away with this sense of renewal. That's a good thing too. Never has it been, no, I tell a lie. It has been oppressive. It has been so stuffed full in here and so messy that sometimes it's hard to work. But then I stop and I do that cleaning and I get that renewal, and that is worth every second. That is worth the work. Sometimes I purposefully build that kind of reality in. My studio is very much that. It's this built-in reality so that I experience those things because I know it works for me. I know that cycle is good for me, and it produces more. It helps me be more creative. Some studios, yeah, I look at that magazine Where Women Create. Isn't that beautiful? What a lie. I'm sure some people's studios really are like that, and I'm jealous of those people. It's, the studio is this really beautiful place, and everything has a place, and they have this creative wall that's all gorgeous, and the notes are all perfect, and they keep journals, and the journals my journals have scratched out marks in them, and things are spelled wrong, and my handwriting gets really erratic, and I get angry because it's not this neat, beautiful, presentable archive of amazing creative thought, and I just want to tear the pages out and start over. And I struggle with notebooks like that because I want them to be works of art into themselves, and I'm trying to release. I'm trying to accept the mess. And I can accept it physically in my manifestation here, but to accept it in written word like that, my journals are always supposed to be these beautiful works of art and these bullet journals with pretty little hand-decorated stars and I don't draw well. My schematics are stick figures. They're awful. Releasing and accepting what I do make that's beautiful, and releasing and accepting that my notes can be a hideous mess. That's part of the evolution of the artist. That's part of the evolution of the human, and embracing who we are and coming to love who we are. And you have to love all the bits, not just the pretty. And I think that's one of my biggest challenges in defining myself, coming into myself, becoming who I am. It's learning to embrace even the ick. Even the ick. Don't you love, I just, every once in a while, I look up and I look at the, instead of looking into the camera, I see the feedback monitor, and I see my little monkey sitting here on my shoulder going, oh, as I'm going, yeah. Welcome to my world. So I talked to you guys about, let's see, my life, my hand spinning, my knitting, my crochet, my dyeing a little bit, my design work, my acquisitions. I even talked to you a little bit about my Patreon program and what I'm planning on doing so far as exclusive content there. I am still aiming and goaling to get to a point in the patronage to have the funding necessary to do a dye class, an exclusive dye class, and to do an exclusive knitting class as well. So those are still goals that I'm still moving toward. That is everything I have for you guys today. I'm always looking around. Oh, I wanted to share one thing with you guys that I had received that means a lot to me. And really, I should have shared this a long time ago, and I have a little bit of guilt about that. Isn't that funny how the more time goes by, the less it seems appropriate to say something or do something? Like if you should have said you were sorry to somebody and it's been a couple days, you could still sort of say you're sorry. But if it's been a couple months, all of a sudden it seems bigger and more uncomfortable, and heaven forbid it goes years. That feels like a boulder, or somehow you think it's not necessary anymore, that you can just kind of skirt that and pretend it went away on its own. Just do it. Just do it. Whether it's something that you need to share, or something that you need to admit, or something that you need to clean up, just do it. It doesn't matter when you do it. So I have a friend, my friend Jamie. Jamie is off in the American Northwest, and I had sent him some yarn. I send him actually the little scraps. Do I have any handy? I don't. When we dye yarn, the yarn comes in a skein. It's pre-skein, and it's got all these ties on it. And I'm sure you've bought skeins of yarn that have these ties on them. And when you go to cake it up, you cut those ties off and you usually get rid of them. As a dyer, I have a lot of them. I have a lot of them. And I have an excess of them, even more than you get when you get the skein, just because it's all pre-tied when you go to dye it. And we remove a chunk of those before we send your yarn. Well, Jamie had reached out to me, and he is working on a little bit of an art project and just a general project for himself where he makes little tiny socks, and he makes them as ornaments. And he said, you know, hey, if you've got a bunch of those scraps and you're just discarding them, can I have them? And I said, oh, of course, absolutely. I don't like to waste things, and if it can incorporate into something else, I am certainly going to give it to somebody else who can incorporate it. And I do that. I do send scraps to weavers and artists alike all over the world, honestly. And so when Jamie asked, I was more than happy to oblige. And as a thank you, he sent me one of the little socks. This is a pattern that really he kind of devised. He did some math. He's got kind of an engineer mind, which I just dig on. I love that. And he made this miniature sock. And I'm putting it against my hand so you can see just quite how miniature it is. It's a heel flap with a turn and everything. And he makes these out of the scraps and leftover yarns from his other projects. And they just make me so happy. He sells these, I believe he's selling at craft fairs at this point. I don't know that he has like a website up to sell them yet, but ultimately he does these little ornaments. Jamie, if you have information about where you're selling them, please give that to me so that I can forward it to everybody. So everybody who's looking at this and going, I want socks on my Christmas tree, it can get a hold of you. But Jamie, this meant a lot to me, and I'm sorry that I didn't share this with everybody sooner, and thank you so very much for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to your little mini sock project. To the best of my knowledge, Jamie had been aiming to make 100 of these, and he finished that, and I believe he surpassed that. I don't know. I think he might be taking a little bit of a break because you knit 100 socks, you need to go work on something else for a while. But this makes me happy. This is beautiful. And Jamie, thank you so very, very much. It meant a lot to me to receive this as a thank you gift. And guys, if you're interested in seeing where you can get tiny ornament socks like that, let me know, and I will make sure that as soon as Jamie gives me information, I get you information as well. So that is that. I think that's everything I needed to share. I love you guys. Thank you for letting me ramble and share myself and be honest with you, and reach out and find other people like you that have this common experience or this other think differently kind of way about you. And I'd love to hear from you, and I hope to do this again next weekend. I'm not sure. Summer right now is crazy busy for me, and I'm trying to do this 3 weeks a month, but it may be 2 weeks again before I'm back to see you again. Until then, I love you. Knit on, dance on, have fun, make the most of it, whatever it is. Bye.